Okay, ladies, let's talk about 10 simple habits that can help you step into your feminine energy with minimal effort. These habits have transformed my life, and they can do the same for you. So by the end of this video, you'll have a simple but powerful toolkit to embrace your natural feminine essence every single day. Plus, I'm going to share practical ways to incorporate these habits into your daily routine so they eventually become second nature. Habit number 1 is to start your morning in silence. Feminine energy is not rushed. It's present, it's intuitive, and deeply connected. So starting your morning in silence creates a pocket of peace that allows you to set the tone for your entire day. So when you pause, even for a few minutes before you get out of bed, you give yourself permission to be instead of constantly doing. It allows your mind to wake up naturally so you feel more clear, more grounded, and more at peace. Okay, so here's what I want you to avoid. I want you to avoid reaching for your phone before you're even fully awake or checking your emails first thing in the morning. The reason for this is that it pulls you into a reactive state instead of letting you set the tone for your day. Rushing into your day before centering yourself can create unnecessary stress. I mean, I get it. The world rewards busyness, but at what cost? Even 5 minutes of silence in the morning can make a significant impact. One thing I learned was that silence isn't empty, because sometimes when I'm just silent, all the answers I was looking for come to me naturally. Now that you've set a peaceful tone for your day, let's talk about how to move through your day. Habit number 2 is to move with grace. The way you move affects how you feel. Feminine energy is naturally fluid, graceful, and intentional. So moving with softness can make you feel more present, more confident, and more connected to yourself. It's about how you carry yourself throughout the day. So carry yourself with grace and elegance. All right, so here are some things to avoid. You want to avoid rushing, right? Because feminine energy likes to take her time. You want to avoid poor posture that makes you feel sluggish or disconnected from your body. You also want to avoid carrying tension in your body. Many of us are so caught up in our daily stress that we don't even notice how rigid we've become. We're so conditioned to hustle and hustle that we forget to feel at home in our own bodies. So some practical tips for this is to walk with confidence, right? I like to use this visual example. Imagine that there's a string gently pulling you up from the crown of your head. You want to keep your shoulders back, chin slightly lifted, and you want to move with intention. Something else you could do is to embrace flowing movements. So whether you're reaching for something, whether you're sitting down or walking, you want to add a sense of ease and fluidity to your actions. Let go of stiffness and tension. Something else you can do also is to practice dancing or yoga. Both of these are excellent ways to connect with your body and embrace movement in a more expressive, intuitive way. I know personally, I used to have a hard time with this because I like to move really quickly because I have things to do and places to be, okay? But I realized that if I can just pause to make sure I'm breathing, it reminds me to slow down. So now that you're moving with more grace, let's talk about a mindset shift that will change everything. Habit number 3 is to lean back and allow. Okay, so we've been taught that control equals power, but real power comes from trust. Leaning back doesn't mean being passive. It means knowing when to step forward and when to allow. It means trusting that what's meant for you will not pass you by. It's the art of receiving without chasing. That's where true attraction comes in. So what you want to avoid is trying to control everything. Listen, I get it. I used to be a control freak. And honestly, sometimes I have to remind myself to lean back. But I want you to avoid control and remind yourself that God is the one that's really in control, and just allowing him to be in control of your life. And that will allow you to relax a little bit more. I want you to avoid micromanaging situations or people, and instead allowing things to happen organically. Again, learning to lean back, release control, and let people do what they want to do. Also, I want you to avoid overthinking and worrying about things that are simply not in your control, right? There are so many little things that we can control in this life. And one thing that reminds me of this was I saw a picture of like the entire galaxies one day and just how massive everything is. When you look at the big picture, we're like a small, tiny little dot. So learn to just stop overthinking and stop worrying, and knowing that not everything is within your control. In fact, most things are outside of your control. And sometimes we overthink, and all it does is cause unnecessary stress. Naturally, feminine energy does not force, it flows. And that's why I love feminine energy so much, because it reminds us to just go with the flow of life and stop trying to force our way in. Okay, so some practical tips for this is to learn to breathe and to trust. When you feel the urge to force your way into something, right? Force someone to love you, or force someone to treat you right, or force things that happen in your workplace, or whatever it is, I want you to literally physically lean back. This works for me because I'm a very physical person. So I need to have a physical reminder to let it go. So I want you to physically lean back. I want you to take a deep breath and remind yourself that whatever is meant for you will not pass you by. Like, you are here for a reason, you are here for a purpose. And I'm telling you right now that everything you need is already inside of you. So whatever is meant to come your way will come. Whatever is inside of you will naturally attract that. Something else I want you to do is to allow things to unfold. Okay. So in conversations, in relationships, and even at work, practice stepping back and just allowing things to happen naturally. You don't have to be the one to do all the heavy lifting. I mean, listen, I had to learn the hard way to just delegate, allow someone else to do it. I don't have to be the one in control. Something else I want you to do is to practice being in the present moment. So instead of worrying about the next step all the time, be present in the moment as much as you can. I know this is hard. This is hard for me because literally I'm a visionary. Like, I'm always like in the future trying to see how to improve my life, how to make things better for me. But I had to learn the hard way that, you know what? I can only take action in the present. I can't go and touch the future. I can't go and touch my past. The only place I have any sort of control is in the present moment. So I like to remind myself to be in the present moment and enjoy whatever's happening right now instead of trying to control whatever's coming next. All right, so the next tip is to allow other people to take the lead. So when you stop forcing things, something beautiful happens, right? You create space for your creativity, for your childlike nature. You create space for play. Habit number 4 is to tap into your creativity. Creativity is at the heart of feminine energy. Creativity is not just about making art. It's about how you express yourself in everyday life. Creativity is what it is at its core. It's play, it's joy, it's the spark that you feel when you're fully present. Feminine energy is deeply creative. It can show up in cooking, in decorating, in problem solving, or even in the way you dress. So thinking that creativity is reserved for artists is something that we have to stop believing. Stop believing that everything you create has to be good either, right? Creativity is a practice, not a performance. I also want you guys to stop overthinking or doubting your creative abilities. Just have fun, just play with life. Just go back and be like the child version of you and just do things because they're fun, not because you're good at it. So things that you want to do, some practical tips, is to go back to your childhood and remember what you enjoy doing. Like, is it writing, painting, dancing, whatever it is that brings you joy now or used to bring you joy, do it. I also want you to change up small things. Like, you don't have to change your whole life. You can start by trying a new recipe or wearing a new color that you've never worn before, or rearrange your space and your furniture. Something small like that is a way for you to practice your creativity. Something else you want to do is let go of perfection. I know for a fact that this is easier said than done because I am Miss Perfectionist, okay? But I had to learn to just make a mess. Just create for the sake of creating. Nothing good has to come out of it. It just has to be fun in the process. All right, now if creativity definitely fuels your feminine energy. Now let's talk about rest. Habit number 5 is to prioritize rest without guilt. There's no point in resting if you're gonna feel guilty about it. You have to understand that you're more magnetic when you're well rested. Rest is not a reward, it's a necessity. Feminine energy thrives in stillness, in moments of quiet where you can actually hear yourself think. But unfortunately, we live in a culture that glorifies burnout, right? I'm gonna raise my hands because I have been burnt out more times than I would like to tell you guys, okay? I am an attorney, I work really hard, I have a very demanding job, but I have learned how important it is to rest because rest allows me to recharge. And I just have to remind myself that I cannot pour from an empty cup. So when I rest also, I find that it makes me look more radiant. It makes me feel more vibrant. It makes it easier to be in the present. So when you slow down, you become more receptive to the beauty of life. You're able to see the beauty in the flowers. You're able to see things you wouldn't have noticed before. Your intuition deepens. You start to hear your inner knowing. You start to know the answer to things. So something that I want you to avoid. I want you to avoid feeling guilty for resting, right? Productivity is not a measure of your worth. You're worthy simply because you exist. I want you to avoid overworking to the point where you are exhausted. Like, if you're watching this channel, you're probably an ambitious woman, right? You want a good life. You want your dream life. You want to become that girl. You want to become your dream woman. And I understand that, but sometimes we need to rest. And I'm also preaching to myself, right? We need to rest. It's not good to overwork yourself to the point where you're exhausted all the time. I also want you guys to avoid thinking that relaxation has to be earned, right? It's something you inherently deserve. The fact that you exist, the fact that you are alive is enough for you to deserve to rest, right? So how do we implement this in real life? I want you to prioritize quality sleep. This is something I'm always working on. Something that helps me is to set a relaxing bedtime routine. Just doing things that relaxes me. It could be like reading a book. I find that reading a physical book helps me to relax, or drinking a cup of tea, or doing my face mask. Like, find whatever it is that helps you to relax and do it. I also want you to create a cozy sleep environment. Whatever is stepping in the way of you getting a good sleep, change it. Like, for me, I know that like the regular pillows don't work for me. So I had to get like some special neck pillow, and I find that helped me to have a better sleep quality, right? So whatever it is that can make your sleep environment more cozy, Go ahead and invest in that. Your nervous system will thank you. Okay, something else that I love that I really want to do more of is to embrace slow living. Like, y'all ever watch those slow living vlogs on YouTube? When I tell you, if you're having a stressful day, put one of those on and I promise you it will calm your nervous system so much. Easy ways to implement this though could be taking your time when you're eating. Like, do not eat at your desk if you have a desk job. Go ahead and sit at a proper table and eat your food. I also like going out on walks after I eat or whenever I feel like I just need to be outside. Actually, give yourself time to just be. Right? To just be, to hear your thoughts, to just be relaxed, give yourself time. Whatever you're doing, just slow it down. Like in the morning, imagine that like right here, there's a clock. Bring it down, right? Bring it down. Like sometimes we just think we're always running against time. Time isn't real. Time is just something we invented. Just learn to calm down and trusting that everything will happen at the right time. I was watching a video or something and someone said that nature never hurries, yet get everything done. That's really what I'm trying to say here. Like, look at nature, never hurries, but everything gets done. I want you to start moving with the same speed as nature. Take your time, do things naturally, don't rush. All right, so now that you're prioritizing rest, let's talk about how you express yourself. Habit number 6 is to speak in a softer, more intentional tone. This is what I learned. Your voice carries energy. How you speak influences the way others perceive you and how you feel about yourself. So when you speak with a calmer tone, it invites people in, and when you speak with a more aggressive tone, it can make people think you're being defensive and push them away. So some things you want to avoid here is to speak too quickly or too forcefully. This is something I had to learn the hard way. You know, English is like my third language, and in my natural language, it's very quick. We speak really quick. So my first language was Haitian Creole, and it's a very passionate language, and we speak it really quickly. So I really had to practice slowing down, because when we rush, we send a signal, a message to other people that we're not sure of ourselves or that we're anxious, even if we don't really feel that way. So think about the message that you're sending with the way you talk. Something else I want you to avoid is to allow frustration or stress to dictate your tone. Instead, I want you to pause before you respond so that you can respond with calmness. You don't want to allow other people to tell you how to respond. You want to pause within yourself and find the peace and the calmness you need in order to properly respond. If you're one of those people that hates silence, work on that, because I know that silence can be uncomfortable, but it's powerful. Sometimes the most impactful, most feminine thing you can do is pause. All right, so some practical tips on this is learning to slow down when you talk. Take your time when you're speaking. Let your words land with impact instead of rushing through your sentences. If you have a hard time with this, I would try breathing through your sentences. When you're talking, making sure that you're consciously taking a deep breath. That will help you to keep your tone calm and controlled, because your nervous system, when you take a deep breath, your nervous system relaxes. Something else you want to do is practice softening your tone, right? We don't have to be harsh and, like intense all the time. Something I would recommend is to try recording yourself and notice the difference when you speak more slowly and with more intention. All right, one more tip is to use pauses when you talk. Pauses are feminine. They create space for other people to digest what you're saying. Feminine energy likes to take her time, even when she speaks. All right, now let's talk about how you can enhance your connection with your body. Habit number 7 is to connect with your body through touch. So here's what happens, right? We spend so much time in our heads, overthinking, overanalyzing, and worrying about everything. And we do that so much that we forget that we even have a body. I was a victim of this, but feminine energy, I learned, is deeply embodied. Feminine energy thrives when you're connected to your body. So one way of doing this is to practice intentional touch. So that could be through self-care, through movement, or simply being present in your own skin. Intentional touch pulls you out of your mind and back into your body, and that is where your intuition lives. Your intuition lives around your gut, right? That's when you get that gut feeling. That is where your intuition lives. So some things you want to avoid is rushing through your self-care, right? Instead of taking the time to enjoy it. When you do that, when you're speeding through your self-care, you're missing an opportunity for connection with yourself. So let's go into more details. When you're applying your lotion, instead of mindlessly rubbing your lotion on your skin, slow down. Feel the texture, appreciate your body, feel the temperature of your skin, things like that. When you're taking a bath, I want you to enjoy it. Let the water be like a sensory experience. Notice how it feels on your skin. Something else you can do is self-massage, right? A simple touch like touching your neck or your shoulders or any other body part can help you to reconnect with yourself. In general, you guys, I just want you to engage with your senses. So you use things like candles, wearing clothing that feels soft and luxurious, and drinking a warm cup of tea. All of this and just taking your time to enjoy it can really help you to reconnect with your body. And also help you to get out of your head. So if you're an overthinker, this is definitely something that can help you out with that. All right, now let's talk about the power of emotions. Habit number 8 is to flow with your emotions. Okay, so this is why this works, right? Feminine energy is deeply emotional. So if you've ever been told that you're too sensitive, this one's for you. Your emotions are messengers. They're not your enemies. They came to give you a message. There are signals that are guiding you towards something deeper. It helps you to understand yourself better, to connect with yourself better, and to heal. But here's the problem. We live in a culture that glorifies emotional suppression, right? We're told constantly to toughen up and get over it or push through. And so we do. We push things down, but emotions don't just disappear. They settle into our bodies, our nervous systems, and our relationships. And then before we know it, they just blow up. So allowing your emotions to flow doesn't mean that you're letting them control you. It means holding space for them, listening to what they're trying to tell you, and allowing them to move through you instead of getting stuck inside you. Emotions are part of the human experience, and feeling is not a weakness. It's a sign that you're alive. It's a sign that you care. It's a sign that you're connected. I also want you to avoid thinking that you have to fix every emotion that you have. Not every feeling needs a solution. Sometimes emotions just need to be felt. I also want you to avoid suppressing emotions until they become overwhelming, right? Because what we resist persists. So if you'll just allow your emotions to come through and feel them, it would just leave you. Avoiding your emotions do not make them go away. All right, so some practical tips for this is journaling. I feel like journaling is like therapy on paper, so I always recommend journaling. I also recommend doing breath work, right? Just breathing it out, allow you to release whatever you're feeling. Or honestly, simply allow yourself to cry can be a powerful way to process your emotion. I also want you to practice naming your emotions. Psychologists call this affect labeling, right? Because the simple act of naming your emotions, for some reason, reduces their intensity. So instead of just saying, oh my God, I'm a mess, say what you're really feeling. Use feeling words. Say you feel overwhelmed, right? Instead of saying you're fine when you're clearly not, say that you feel frustrated or unheard or whatever the reason is, whatever the feeling is. Because naming your emotions can help you to process them instead of being consumed by them. Something else I learned about crying, right? Science actually says that when you cry, you lower your cortisol level. And your cortisol is your stress hormone. So essentially, when you cry, you're allowing your body to return to balance. So if you need to cry, sis, cry, let it out. Something else that helps me to express my emotions is to express myself creatively, right? So I would write out or dance it out or sing it out or pen it out, screaming into a pillow if you need to. Your emotions need an outlet. So find an outlet that feels good to you. All right, so now that we've embraced our emotions, let's open up to receiving. Ladies, one of the key aspects of feminine energy is learning to receive. And that's because feminine energy is all about openness, right? Allowing life to come to you instead of constantly chasing, forcing, or proving. But for so many of us, being open to receiving feels unnatural because we didn't grow up seeing that happen, right? I know for me, I grew up with a single mom. I grew up around very strong, independent women. So in a way, a lot of us have been conditioned to believe that independence means doing everything on your own, that asking for help is a sign of weakness. But here's the truth. When you struggle to receive, you block abundance. The abundance you want, the dream life you want, all those things that you dream of, when you have a hard time receiving, you're blocking that. So allowing yourself to receive, whether it be love, support, and joy, allows more abundance to flow into your life. When you stop pushing so hard and start allowing things to come to you, you naturally attract more of what you desire. We want to avoid rejecting help when it's offered because we think we can handle everything alone. Here's what I learned. As someone who, listen, I was definitely the poster child for the strong, independent woman. But here's what I learned. Independence is great, but hyper independence is a trauma response. Hyper independence is a trauma response. Think about that. You only like so independent and you only rejecting help and all of that because you're literally traumatized. So think about that and find some healing, go to therapy, do whatever you have to do. But not being able to receive help can be one of the signs that maybe you need to go and seek some help and work through that. Okay. We want to avoid thinking that we have to deserve rest or support or success, right? You are worthy, period. The fact that you're alive, that you exist means that you're worthy. You don't have to earn everything that comes to your life. You don't. Just be grateful for things that come. So some practical tips on this. How do you maximize it? You want to learn to say yes to support. Allow other people to help you. It could be something small like carrying your groceries or something bigger like emotional support. Something else you can do is learning to accept compliments, right? Let the good energy come in. I mean, this world is so full of bad vibes. When the good vibes come in, you better accept that vibe, baby. You better accept that good energy. You don't need to explain, you don't need to justify it, just receive it. Okay, something else you want to do is to trust that you are worthy. You want to work on your self-worth. You want to practice believing that you are deserving of kindness, of love, and good things just as much as anyone else, right? Finally, habit number 10 is surrounding yourself with beauty. Here's the reason for this. Your surroundings have a direct effect on your energy. I know you guys know what I mean. Have you ever seen a chaotic space and then naturally you start feeling chaotic? And that's because your environment affects your energy. A beautiful space doesn't just look good, it makes you feel good. And your feminine energy loves that. Your feminine energy thrives in environments that are warm, inviting, and aesthetically pleasing. So when you intentionally create beauty in your space, it elevates your mood and inspires your creativity. Physical clutter creates mental and emotional clutter. Now let's recap. We just talked about 10 tiny micro habits that may be small but can create a huge change in how you feel, how you carry yourself, and how you move through the world. The key to embodying feminine energy isn't about doing more. It's about being more in the present moment, more receptive, and allowing life to flow. So if you loved these micro habits, check out my video on how to be more feminine for even deeper insights. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which habit you're going to try first. See you next time.